If you've been a fan of manga for a while, chances are you might have heard of certain terms floating around like hard shonen or soft seinen to describe various series. Shonen Jump, the world's biggest manga magazine filled with some of the most popular shonen manga ever made, actually has a secret related to this. Some of these shonen manga you all know and love are secretly seinen manga, snuck into the magazine by bold visionary authors with stories they want the world to see. Before we tackle some obvious examples of these works, let's look at an older and more obscure example in the form of a mangaka from the 80s. Of course, I'm talking about the legendary Koji Maki and their body of seinen manga that filled Shonen Jump in this period. Koji Maki was a rambunctious up-and-comer artist at the beginning of the magazine's golden age, a time where we had Dragon Ball, Fist of the North Star, City Hunter, some of the magazine's greatest series ever, and amongst them were Koji Maki's attempts to infiltrate the magazine with seinen manga. This all started with his robot battle series Mecha Battler Gilfer, seeing heavy metal combatants duke it out in sci-fi setting, unlike anything else in the magazine at the time. It was a little too refined and mature for Jump's taste though, which led it to being cancelled, only for him to come back with the horror masterpiece Metal K. Metal K being a series that was the complete opposite of shonen manga at the time. It had a cool female cyborg protagonist who was hunting the killers of her family, some real mature adult motivations, no King of the Pirates or ninja here. It was also filled with gore, nudity and horror references, but again, Jump shut this down after just one volume. Fear not though, as Maki would then land a brief hit within the magazine with Godsider. Godsider was a supernatural battle series that saw the forces of heaven and hell clash in cataclysmic fights. It was raw, seeing Koji Maki's rough art style spawn countless horrifying creatures and cool armored warriors to fight them. Throughout its run, it would have many gory deaths, the main cast trying to kill an evil baby, tons of nudity, and commentary on various religions. It even rivaled Hirohiko Araki's JoJo's Bizarre Adventure for a time, with both being horror battle series within Jump running side by side. If you'd like to know more about it, I've made a whole video on Godsider, and I'll leave a link to it in the description down below. Maki would then end his stint in Jump with The Green Eyes, taking place in the Amazon jungles. It saw humankind fight against nature itself, with monstrous animal people duking it out with the series' jungle-raised hero, Hiroki. The audience at the time didn't appreciate the more mature storytelling from Koji Maki, so with that he moved on to make his seinen manga elsewhere. In his autobiographical manga, Series Axed, he relays his history with Jump, as well as his desire to make seinen works within the magazine, and while he tried his best, none would stick, but he will forever be remembered as an excellent artist who pushed boundaries as much as possible. More authors would then follow in Koji Maki's footsteps over time, notably Yoshihiro Togashi. With Yu Yu Hakusho, you would see him start out writing a shonen battle manga, with the cast duke it out in arcs such as the Dark Tournament, but later on Togashi wasn't afraid to interweave more political themes, with characters ruminating on their place in the world and reflecting on their actions. Here you can see Togashi think with his seinen brain, almost elevating Yu Yu Hakusho to soft seinen status, but it doesn't quite get there. Instead, from the very beginning of his next series, Level E, he would go full soft seinen, a dark comedy with aliens. Sci-fi being a hallmark of seinen manga, as it doesn't tend to be as popular with younger audiences. Dark comedies also aren't common in shonen magazines, as they tend to appeal to more mature people. Other elements of Level E, like its explorations of immigration, genderqueer ideology, and baseball, also fit its soft seinen status. Hunter x Hunter then, a much more well-known manga, is cited often as a secret seinen manga within Jump, being at least 12 times more complicated than your average shonen battle manga. In this series, Togashi takes the usual shonen tropes you'd see and deconstructs them all. The Hunter exam, for instance, might seem like your standard exam arc, but actually, the real exam only begins once the Hunter exam is over, a mind-blowing twist that only the most mature among us can completely comprehend. And dare I mention the final stage of the exam, a tournament flipped in reverse so there's only one loser. It's literally flipping shonen tradition on its head, and what shonen manga flipped over? That's right, seinen manga. As the series progressed, it would flirt with darker and darker ideas, like in the Yorknu arc, which sees Kurapika fight the Phantom Troop, a group of cold-blooded killers who aren't your normal type of evil, they're complicated and more mature, headed by Chrollo Lucifer, who adorns the profiles of many seinen manga die-hard fans. The current arc, the Succession War, also features an abundance of text, and as we know, children are stupid and can't read properly. That's why they're in school. This text is for the adults among us who want to appreciate a fine seinen vintage alongside our Shonen Jump. Moving on to one of the most recent huge shonen successes, we have Chainsaw Man by Tatsuki Fujimoto, who actually only writes seinen manga. All of his works are filled with complex, gritty stories with emotions no mere child could experience or comprehend. Case in point, the genius of Chainsaw Man, a series paying homage to the seinen classic Devilman. Here, Denji isn't like any other shonen protagonist, he just wants to live a good life in an increasingly hostile world, wanting to grow up and enjoy fine foods and have sex. Fujimoto isn't afraid to tackle sexual topics in his manga, with Denji almost having relations with many characters or being strung along by Makima, who takes advantage of his hormonal desires. The artwork is also especially seinen with how rough it can be. You see, shonen manga characters often have bigger eyes like this, smoother lines like this, whereas seinen stuff will be much grittier like this, have much more detail, and the characters will look less cartoony. Now on to the last secret seinen manga, which you probably won't expect. Me and Roboco. Yeah, this one, the kiddie looking gag manga from Shonen Jump, is actually a soft seinen manga. There's multiple reasons for this. Firstly, this isn't just a silly gag manga. It's actually been directly parodying and slaughtering all the manga surrounding it within the magazine. It's actively making fun of shonen manga, and you can see this through its art style as well as its covers, which parody different series. And it's a widely known fact that Shonen Jump routinely sacrifices other series for Roboco to appease its creator's existence so it stays within the magazine. Any kid can read shonen manga, but when they get to Roboco, beyond laughing at the artwork, they won't understand its complex, multifaceted, mature deconstruction of the genre. Roboco is levels above all the other manga in Jump, toying with every series like a puppet master, which is even referenced within the series itself. Roboco is meant to be this submissive maid. She's the one who's meant to be ordered around, but she never listens. She never does her job, and that's because she has free will and is orchestrating the entire thing. Mind-blowing stuff. Before we end, I also want to run through some manga which aren't soft seinen, but soft shoujo, since shoujo manga often gets underrepresented and Jump has a few notable examples. Death Note, actually you might think is a soft seinen, but no, it's a soft shoujo. The why of this is because of a few reasons. Firstly, it's a mystery manga, a genre synonymous with shoujo manga most of the time, but also it's dual male protagonists who are clearly gay. Everyone knows male-on-male romance is synonymous with shoujo manga, dating all the way back to the 70s where it exploded into popularity with works like The Heart of Thomas, The Po Clan, and Kazetoki no Uta. Another secret soft shoujo which will blow your mind is Fist of the North Star, and no way, you might exclaim, that's gotta be a soft seinen, but no, it's a soft shoujo for one simple reason: emotion. Fist of the North Star at its core is an emotional journey that sees Kenshiro explore a post-apocalyptic world, helping out children and those less fortunate. It's a series that lets the manly man cry, shed tears, and only within shoujo works will you see this level of emotion be portrayed. And there you have it. There's some soft seinen and a few soft shoujo that are secretly within Jump. Keep your eyes peeled next time you read a manga from the magazine, as you may actually be reading something a lot more mature than you realize. There's also so much more hidden manga within Shonen Jump to explore, so if you like the sound of that, feel free to subscribe, like the video, and check out the other stuff on the channel. I figure if you've watched this far, you've either realized this one is a silly little April Fool's thing, or are fans of my videos already and expected this. The other videos on the channel are a lot more serious, like the one I mentioned before on Godsider, where I actually discuss the series and Kojimaki in more depth. He's a really interesting figure who truly believed in trying to create these seinen-styled works within the magazine. Series Axed is also something I heavily recommend too if you're deep into manga and Shonen Jump especially. Alongside the video on Godsider, I have a whole series of Axe Files running through the various cancelled manga of Shonen Jump, with me running through how some elements may be underappreciated or exploring what might have gotten them cancelled. My investigations of Shonen Jump's history also helped a ton here with the Kojimaki section, as I've covered his entire run of manga throughout the History of Shonen Jump series, which is a video series where I look at what manga were running within the magazine year by year, with me now approaching the end of the 1990s, where huge hits like One Piece, Hunter x Hunter, and Naruto appear. If you like the sound of those videos and appreciate my silly antics here, you can also support me over on Patreon, where for just $1 a month you'll get access to a bunch of exclusive videos that are usually experimental or silly in nature. Plus you'll also get to vote on polls and suggest what manga I cover next through the X-Files. At the $3 or higher tier, patrons also get their own unique little doodle to represent themselves in the credits, like the following cool people. Thank you: Trinity, Jade, Kazuku-Gairu, Circle Zero, Holly the Apothecary, Mayu, It's Fako, Yellowtail, Lace Slugget, Crispy Bacon, Cho Henshin, Full Metal, Unquestionable, Yuzakura Psycho, Wurzel, Violent, Cactus, Joni, City Name E, Vino Burrito, Caffeine Dad, Cryonaut, Crash, 41IZ, Hong, Jamie Reynolds, Manu, Poke Emblem, James Miller, Jopa Monkey, Just a Virus, Star Sphinx, PK Broly, Fenrir Black, Elijah Espinoza, Neo Humanoid, Mark Nielsen, Electro Pirate, Jay Vasso, Three Frogs in a Trenchcoat, Sir Flash, Gay Shark, Slimy Okra, Giddista, Wavy Sky, TG Talks Manga, John Jerry 722, Andrew, Zenomat, Missile, Terra Elizabeth, Stratomega 13, Dennis Tambik, Jubei, Lise, Frog Dude, Back on Earth, Yustin Maikage, Papa Aeon, Gwenta, Mamina, Nozarashi, VHS Enthusiast, Kaito 4, Hilltop, Bako Draws, Otaku Gamer X, Deadpan, Shy Monkeys, Jonathan Dragonet, John Sanford, Color, Jaime, Strawberry Proshone, Vaz, Palette, Ruiner, Juice, Kurumi Nox, Eric Gorski, Mr. Shira, Grizz Exploder, Dextora, Enya Showo, Cheese, Emmy, Benjamin, Tenmaku Lover, Taifumi Studios, Ignate, Iliades, Gyrus, VHS Enthusiast, Kanojo, King Snacks, Sidrune, Daniel, Melons, Ichizulu, Modest Matt, and Archgoat PL. Thank you all so much for being patrons, and as always, thank you so much for watching. Remember to be kind and take care.